The recent friendship, or rather, Azerbaijan's dependence on Russia, now seems to be turning into outright hostility and open confrontation.
At this point, the Kremlin has no leverage over Baku, or if there is any, it's been reduced to a bare minimum.
The downed plane, the decisive victory in the recent Karabakh War, and the perceived oppression of the Azerbaijani diaspora in Russia, all of these significant factors gave official Baku completely free rein, and they finally started to openly say and truly do what they really think.
Russia did not apologize, and Russia refused to acknowledge its responsibility. Basically, from that moment on, relations began to deteriorate rapidly.
For the first time in the entire history of their relations, Baku is preparing to take Moscow to court. What is Azerbaijan hoping to achieve with this move? Why is Aliyev no longer afraid of Putin? Could the country face the same kind of Kremlin aggression as Ukraine? And will Russia ever be able to regain its former influence in the Caucasus? We'll talk about all this right now in the new episode of Arsenal. The hottest flashpoint in the new format of relations between Russia and Azerbaijan came on December 25th of last year. Since then, the situation has only gotten worse.
The cooling of relations between Azerbaijan and Russia didn't start yesterday. Back in December of 24, there was a high-profile incident. You remember it. A passenger plane flying from Baku was shot down over Grozny. 38 people died, mostly Azerbaijanis.
During the investigation, it was revealed that the plane was shot down by a Russian Panzer-S air defense system. According to the inspection, the aircraft had no damage prior to the crash. Baku also stated that they have a fragment of a Panzer-S missile extracted from the plane and identified by an international examination. And to leave no questions at all, they investigated and released the recording of the Russian air defense captain who fired at the airliner.
Azimuth 338. Range 7,000. Altitude 400. Fire. I said fire. It confirms.
The only ones who, more than half a year later, still can't figure out what happened are, that's right, Russia. For 7 months now, Azerbaijan's requests have received only one answer: wait, the investigation is ongoing.
For 7 months, we haven't received a concrete answer. Our prosecutor general regularly sends inquiries to the head of Russia's investigative committee, but the only response we get is a notice that the investigation is ongoing. We are willing to wait for this process to be completed, but we consider such behavior to be counterproductive. This will not make us forget what happened. We will not forget.
At the same time, according to insider reports, not even an unofficial apology from Moscow has been offered during all this time. Right after the disaster, Putin did call Aliyev, but only to offer his condolences. Russia does not acknowledge its direct involvement.
If we look at it formally, the investigation is still ongoing, but it's absolutely clear to everyone that Russia, this isn't the first time, deals with civilian aircraft in this way. Russia shows the same unacceptable and barbaric attitude every time. And in this case, the Azerbaijani plane is no exception. For Russia, apologizing for what it has done, even if it was done unintentionally, is seen as a sign of weakness. This is the kind of petty criminal mentality that the Kremlin's rulers have.
However, it now seems that Baku's patience has run out. Having been emboldened by their victory in the Karabakh War, where their opponent was Armenia, backed by Russia, and after receiving blatantly mocking responses to questions about the downed plane, not to mention the recent harassment of the Azerbaijani diaspora and the murder of 2 of its citizens in Ekaterinburg, it was decided that Moscow needed to be dealt with.
Azerbaijan feels protected by Turkey, shielded by the Turkish army. Turkey is a NATO member, no less, right? So now Azerbaijan already considers it possible to speak to Russia as an equal.
And not just according to unwritten rules, but by law. For example, Azerbaijan is already preparing an international lawsuit against Russia for killing civilians in skies over Grozny.
The question is, Why don't the Russians act the way any neighbor should in a similar situation? Our demand was absolutely natural: to admit their guilt, punish those who shot down our plane, and pay compensation both to the families of those killed and injured in the incident, as well as for the plane itself.
But Russia acted in its usual way to pressure and oppress. Baku remains under Moscow's control in the imagination of the bunker dweller. And previously, Russia was gently hinted at this.
Bilateral relations between Baku and Moscow have reached a historic low, and this, after the plane incident, is President Aliyev's démarche. In May, he was absent from the Russian parade in honor of Victory Day on May 9th. And there's no need to explain to TV viewers what Victory Day and the parade mean to the Russian establishment.
There was also the suspension of membership in the CSTO and much more. But the Kremlin didn't recognize the signal, or rather, decided to force friendship with Russia, probably not taking into account that Baku already has a friend, and a much more influential one at that.
Right now, the Kremlin has no levers of influence over Baku. Or if it does, they're extremely limited. We used to have the Karabakh problem, which Moscow manipulated for almost 3 decades. But with Azerbaijan's liberation of the occupied territories and its strong alliance with Turkey, it can now stand up to Russian influence in the South Caucasus.
And the current lawsuit is nothing more than the normal action of any civilized country that no longer wants to play at being a fictitious union state, settle things behind the scenes, or live by the principle of tit for tat. You shot down a plane. Take responsibility. Don't want to do it in good conscience? Then it will be done according to international law. No one is going to keep quiet about anything anymore.
If previously Baku media tried to avoid openly criticizing the Kremlin, now debate has broken through usual boundaries. Leading Azerbaijani media, from state channels to news agencies, are voicing outraged comments directed at Moscow and Vladimir Putin. For example, early June 29th, in evening news broadcast state TV channel AZTV, Russia was openly called a prison of nations, directly referencing infamous nickname of Tsarist and Soviet empires. The anchor addressed the president in an almost familiar tone. "What's the matter, dear Putin? Are you troubled that Azerbaijan has become a strong regional player, regained its territories for the first time in 200 years, and defended its national interests, and recognizes President Aliyev as a strong leader?"
It's worth noting that when fleeing from Karabakh during the war in 2023, the Russian Federation lost its influence over both sides of the conflict. Armenia, having realized what kind of ally Moscow really is, immediately decided to look for new friends.
The Americans and Turkey are taking active steps to secure the signing of an agreement. And the signing of an agreement between Azerbaijan and Armenia means one thing for Russia: it will have to leave the region. This automatically raises the question of the fate of the Russian military base in Gyumri in Armenia. Russia has lost Georgia, Armenia, and Azerbaijan. Only Armenia remains.
And even that, not for long. The recent joint military exercises between official Yerevan and the US Army are further proof of this. Did you like this video? Then don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to our Arsenal channel. The link is in the description below the video.